Colombian President Gustavo Petro suspended the truce with the main group of FARC guerrilla dissidents following the murder of 4 indigenous minors by the rebels. Turkey's presidential candidate of the Ancestral Alliance, Sinan Ogan, announced that he will endorse President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in a runoff election scheduled on May 28th. South Africa's energy minister met with authorities of Eskom holdings to find suitable solutions to the nation's electricity crisis. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. On Monday, Colombian President Gustavo Petro suspended the truce with the main group of FARC guerrilla dissidents in 4 of the country's most conflicted regions following the murder of 4 indigenous minors of the rebels. On his Twitter account, Petro informed the current bilateral ceasefire with this armed group in the departments of Meta, Caqueta, Guaviare, and Putumayo was suspended, thus the army have reactivated all offensive operations. The ceasefire will continue in other territories. These 4 southern regions, however, are guerrilla strongholds where leaders presumably live and produce tons of cocaine. Authorities reported on the weekend that the minors, forcibly recruited, were killed on the border between Caqueta and Amazonas by members of the Carolina Ramirez Front, which belongs to FARC's Central General Staff. A total of 46 people were arrested in Venezuela for their alleged links to drug trafficking at the Simón Bolívar International Airport in Maiquetía, La Guaira state. At the scene, members of the Bolivarian National Guard seized 15 panels of cocaine with a gross weight of 17,580 kilograms. Civilians and military personnel were involved in the incident, according to military sources. Among those arrested are 16 military personnel assigned to the National Anti-Drug Command, 3 agents of the 45th Zone Command of La Guaira, 15 from Airport Security, 11 from the company's Airview Ramp, and 1 from Air Europa Airlines. At this moment, the 7th National Prosecutor's Office for Drugs carries out the criminal investigation. In Peru, archaeologists on the coast north of Lima reported on Sunday the discovery of the tomb of a hierarch of the pre-Columbian Chancay culture, which dates back over 1,400 years. Archaeologist Peter Van Dalen reported the discovery of the tomb of an elite personage of the pre-Inca Chancay culture and added the discovery took place in the archaeological burial site Macaton in the province of Huaral, about 75 kilometers north of Lima. Van Dalen pointed out it would be about a leader of the Chancay culture due to the great dimensions of the tomb, 7 meters deep by 7 meters wide, being the biggest bundle found in the archaeological site of approximately 50 hectares. Experts say there are over 500 archaeological sites in the outskirts of Lima. On Monday in Guyana, authorities reported that a fire swept through a school dormitory and killed at least 20 students and left several injuries. The Guyanese government reported in a press release that the fire broke out in the dormitory building of a high school in the southwestern border town of Madea, 200 miles south of the capital, Georgetown. The government added that several students were treated for injuries and at least 7 were flown to the capital for medical care. According to National Security Advisor Gerald Gouveia, the fire started shortly after midnight at the school, which caters mainly to indigenous children between the ages of 12 and 18. Gouveia said it was too early to speculate on the cause of the fire, adding that heavy storms in the area made aerial response difficult. Mexico's President Andrés Manuel López Obrador announced on Monday that he will present a proposal to grant temporary visas to Central Americans to work in his country. AMLO expressed that he will make the proposal this week and will be a program of temporary permits to legally enter public works because his country needs skilled labor force, but also simple labor. In his morning press conference at the National Palace, he revealed that there is a need of welders, blacksmiths, many other manual trades, and even engineers, architects, professionals, and for the Mayan train, drivers, mechanics, and officers for other important tasks are being sought in Europe. The head of state also said that all this is possible because there is a budget intended for it. Mexican authorities on Sunday raised the alert level due to the intensification of explosions at the Popocatépetl volcano. Members of Civil Protection announced that the volcanic traffic light continues at yellow level, but could go up from phase 2 to phase 3 after the recent activity registered on Friday. They informed that during the new phase, mild to moderate explosions are expected, the spewing of volcanic material around the crater as well as ash rains in nearby towns and some distant cities. For its part, the government of Puebla indicated that following the volcanic activity, a total of 40 municipalities have suspended on-site school activities, and that the same measure will be applied to the distance education model until further notice. In Ecuador on Sunday, experts warned about the activity of the Sangay volcano due to the continuous emission of ashes, which reaches approximately 1,000 meters above the crater. The Geophysical Institute reported that the column of gases and dust generated a slight fall of ash in the sectors located to the southwest of the volcano. Also, the institute pointed out that the eruptive phenomenon has been constant since the beginning of the activity in May 2019. For its part, the Secretariat of Risk Management indicated that it is constantly monitoring the territory to determine the evolution of the volcano while recommending the population to take the necessary precautions. In Italy, the National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology announced that Etna, Europe's most active volcano, erupted on Sunday, spewing ash over Catania, the largest city in eastern Sicily, forcing the suspension of flights at that city's airport. The institute assured it closely monitors Etna with instruments installed on the slopes. However, they recognized that a rainy day's cloud cover prevented a view of the eruption. The institute's report said ash had fallen on Catania, and so far no injuries were recorded. Flight operations going in and out Catania had been temporarily suspended due to the ashfall. Italy's National Civil Protection Agency indicated that there could be an increase in variation in Etna's activity. Etna's last major eruption was in 1922, and the latest one occurred in 2021. On Sunday, the National Coordinator for Disaster of Guatemala confirmed the current rainy season has left more than 62,000 people affected. According to the National Coordinator for Disaster, there are 3,215 sheltered people, 7 missing, 23 injured, and 47 deaths due to weather-related incidents. In addition to homes and public infrastructure, 38 cases were identified at risk with different levels of damage: 12 destroyed roads, 2 buildings, 4 schools, and 286 houses. The rainy season started on April and have affected areas of Boca Costa, southwestern regions, Central Plateau, and the Department of Petén. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the South. Researchers at the U.S. Center for Environmental Health found high levels of a toxic chemical in athletic apparel from several popular brands. The center tested lycra fabrics, shorts, sports bras, and t-shirts from 8 brands. The results revealed that the level of bisphenol A in the polyester-based garments with synthetic spandex fiber was about 40 times the recommended limit. BPA is a chemical compound used in the manufacture of a wide range of everyday products, from food containers and plastic water bottles to toys, and in the manufacture of some clothing. Studies have shown that BPA can be absorbed through the skin and end up in the bloodstream. Prolonged exposure to bisphenol A has been linked to diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer, obesity, erectile dysfunction, and asthma. The garments tested belong to Nike, Adidas, Champion, Athleta, Kohl's, Patagonia, Sweaty Betty, and Fabletics. On Monday, Ireland's data regulator hit Meta with a record €1.2 billion fine and ordered it to stop moving EU users' personal data to the United States. In a landmark decision that found such data transfers illegal, following a lengthy investigation began in August 2020, the Irish Data Protection Commissioner, the leading European authority for Meta, issued the largest fine ever recorded on the General Data Protection Regulation. Meta will have up to 6 months to stop transferring and processing the data of EU residents in the United States, meaning the data will either have to be deleted or moved back to Europe. The decision is based on the second ruling of the EU Court of Justice, which found that the US legal regime does not provide adequate data protection by EU standards due to the disproportionate access of intelligence services. On Monday, the Spanish government asked for a firm response to racist insults against Real Madrid's Brazilian striker Vinicius. The Minister of Consumer Affairs, Alberto Garzón, assured the institutions responsible to monitor football's proper functioning need to take much more severe measures in such cases. For her part, Labour Minister and Second Deputy Prime Minister Yolanda Díaz tweeted that racist slogans in football stadiums do not represent her country nor any football fans. The insults against Brazilian striker Vinicius on Sunday at Valencia's ground have raised a new wave of indignation around racism in Spanish football. Beijing has summoned the Japanese ambassador regarding statements made at the G7 summit concerning China. Also, the Chinese foreign minister urged G7 countries to stop fostering division and confrontation. On Sunday, China's Vice Foreign Minister Sun Weidong summoned Japan's ambassador to Beijing, Hideo Terumi, to protest about speculations launched the G7 Hiroshima summit on China-related issues. Sun said that China is very disappointed and firmly opposes the summit's allegations, and he stressed that China's position is open and honest and cannot be distorted or discredited. The statement comes in response to the concern voiced at the G7 meeting over rising tensions in the East and South China Seas, as well as over the human rights situation in China. Brazilian President Lula da Silva said on Monday that he perceived lack of interest of his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky in negotiating peace with Russia. Lula insisted that his team had scheduled a bilateral meeting with Zelensky on Sunday, but the Ukrainian leader arrived late, citing scheduling problems. Lula is pushing the path of peace talks and proposed Brazil as a mediator among other neutral countries, including China and Indonesia. Zelensky, who left the G7 summit in Hiroshima with renewed diplomatic support and promises of more military aid, had allegedly sought a meeting alone with Lula that finally failed to materialize. Brazilian president said that the Ukrainian leader showed no signs of wanting peace.
I was not disappointed, I was upset because I would like to meet with him and discuss the matter. That's why I met with him here at the hotel. That's all. You see, Zelensky is of age, he knows what he's doing. It is only possible to discuss peace when Zelensky and Putin want to discuss peace. It is not possible to build a proposal in word. What we want is that first the war stops, the attacks stop, and we try to have a dialogue to find a negotiated solution for Ukraine and for Russia.
The U.S. Defense Department announced a new shipment of arms and ammunition worth $375 million for Ukraine. In a press release following a meeting in Japan between U.S. President Joe Biden and his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky, it was reported that the package includes additional ammunition for equipped HIMARS missile launchers, artillery rounds, anti-armor capacities, and critical material that Ukraine is using in the conflict with Russia. This is the 38th equipment delivery from Pentagon inventories to Ukraine since August 2021. Russia has repeatedly denounced the direct involvement of the United States in the conflict in Ukraine with a constant supply of weapons. On Monday, Russian authorities said a Ukrainian sabotage group had entered the border region of Belgorod amidst a series of attacks on national territory. The region's governor, Vyacheslav Gladkov, indicated a sabotage and scouting group of the Ukrainian army entered Graivoron, a Russian district 65 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. In recent weeks, the Russian territory has suffered an increasing number of sabotages and attacks, which Moscow attributes to Kiev, from which the Kremlin expects a major counteroffensive. So far, Ukraine denies any responsibility for the attacks, or at least so it seems, since it has refrained from commenting on the actions. teleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat. Dial 461 and enjoy our Latin American alternative broadcast. One final short break and we'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back from the south. On Monday in Turkey, the presidential candidate of the Ancestral Alliance, Sinan Ogan, announced that he will endorse President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in the runoff election scheduled on May 28th. During a press conference, Ogan, who received around 5.2% of the votes in the first round, has confirmed his support for the presidential candidate of the People's Alliance, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, in the second round, and also called on his electors to endorse him. On May 28th, Turkey's citizens will have the second round of presidential elections, where Erdogan, who received 49.5% of the votes in the first round, will race against Nation Alliance's presidential candidate Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, who had secured 44.8% of the votes. In the same context, the presidential candidate of the Alliance of the Nation, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, through his Twitter account, reacted to Monday's statement of Sinan Ogan, where he called on his electors to support Erdogan in the second round of the presidential elections. Kılıçdaroğlu stated that he can identify the forces that sell out the country and pointed out that his party will continue to advocate for saving the nation from terrorism. On the other hand, Kılıçdaroğlu stressed that no one can fool anyone anymore and appealed to the 8 million citizens who did not go to the polls. On Monday in South Africa, the minister in the presidency responsible for electricity, Koscienso Ramokoba, during his visit to Kuzo Power Station in Emalakhleni, met with authorities of Eskom Holdings, South Africa's primary electricity supplier. Ramokoba affirmed to the media about Eskom management, "We are having sleepless nights trying to find solutions in order to end load shedding plaguing the country. It is important to share with the country the kind of progress they are making," Ramokoba added. In February, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa declared a national state of disaster over the energy crisis and appointed a Minister of Electricity to support Eskom and the existing Minister of Mineral Resources in solving the crisis.
So it will be very irresponsible of me to declare by decree there will not be stage 8. We're working very hard. We are burning the diesel. The team is having sleepless nights to make sure that we improve the energy availability factor, very aggressive on the demand side. We are doing everything possible to ensure that we don't go to higher stages of load shedding.
In Iraq, a medical team from the Ministry of Health Veterinary Department is carrying out a cow disinfection campaign as a precautionary measure against the spread of Congo hemorrhagic fever. The action is taking place on a farm in the southwestern Baghdad suburb of Al-Bouahida in that Arab country. At least 13 people have died since the beginning of the year from a tick-borne viral disease transmitted to humans by livestock, the health ministry said Saturday. Nearly 100 others have been infected with Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever in Iraq, where the disease claimed many more victims last year. In 2022, at least 212 people were infected and 27 died, according to ministry spokesman Saif Ahbad. According to the World Health Organization, CCHF is a tick-borne viral disease transmitted to humans by bites from infected ticks and by direct contact with blood or tissues of infected humans and livestock. And the 76th World Health Assembly is underway in Geneva, Switzerland, to dialogue on the body's main guidelines in healthcare and prevention. On Monday, a series of strategic roundtables will be held. During the sessions, delegates from the WHO partner agencies, civil society representatives, and WHO experts will discuss current and future priorities in public health issues of global importance. The World Health Assembly is the decision-making body of the WHO, which holds sessions annually. It's attended by delegations from all WHO member states and focuses on a specific health agenda prepared by the Executive Board. The main functions of the World Health Assembly are to determine the policies of the organization, appoint the Director General, oversee financial policies, and review and approve the proposed program and budget. We have come to the end of this newspaper. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on our social medias on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.